Kareem Rae here. Today we have Charisse Bacchus, who is a professional athlete, sports finance professional, professor at Humber, and an independent board director at Canada Soccer. Charisse, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So, how did you get involved into the beautiful game?
Well, I can't answer that question without telling you how I got involved in sport, which is a loaded question. I'll try to make it as concise as possible. So I've been involved in sport for pretty much my entire life. I ran track as a junior in university, nationally and professionally for a total of about 17 years. So I've been steeped in sport for a very, very, very long time. Probably started track when I was like 11 or 12. And I've also been very aware of what was going on around me administratively. So I got involved in that way also. So my background's in sport management and sport law. And then I've been working in the sport management field for about 8-9 years. So always been very involved in sports. So being involved in football was just another great branch that I was able to take on.
Understood. And how did you get involved with specifically Canada Soccer?
Honestly, my network. I tell my students this all the time. Your network is paramount. Like who you meet, who you talk to, also how you present yourself when you're in those networking atmospheres, very important. I'll take it back to FIFA Masters. One of my classmates and colleagues and good friends contacted me. Her name is Elizabeth Eastman, and she works for UEFA right now. And she contacted me and she was like, "Did you see this position?" And I was like, "Yes, I saw it, but I run track, right?" She's like, "It doesn't matter. You fit the bill. You need to apply." So I took a whim. I applied, and Canada Soccer's recruitment team reached out to me. And after a few rounds of interviews, I ended up on the board at Canada Soccer. So very blessed and happy that I took that route and it worked out.
Yeah, that's amazing. That was my next question, actually. Like, you went from track to soccer, and I was going to ask why soccer, but you already answered that.
I'll give you a little bit more of a tidbit. I think the masters that I did definitely had a lot to do with kind of opening that door because I did the FIFA Masters. So though it's a sport management, sport law masters, they have a lot of ties to football, because it's FIFA Masters.
So, how'd you get into FIFA Masters, and how long was the process to acquire the Masters?
Oh, okay. I got into the FIFA Masters by just applying for the program. I knew I wanted to do a good sport management, sport law master's degree. So I did my research and I wanted to do like top tier program. I did my research. FIFA Masters always flirts between number 1 and 2 with their program, how it's ranked in Europe and also in the world. It always flirt between number 1 and 2, and I decided on the FIFA Masters. I did the diploma first in Trinidad and Tobago, and I was successful there. And it was kind of like I was introduced to that opportunity, and I applied, and I got in.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And when God opens a door for you, you run through that, and you don't look back. And that's exactly what I did.
Amazing. So if you could speak on this, what has been the biggest obstacle for you at Canada Soccer?
Okay, I'll speak on this definitely by saying it's an issue that transcends Canada Soccer. It's an issue I think that's seen in, I would say, management and upper level management across industries everywhere in Canada, North America, globally. It definitely is diversity and inclusion, representation of people of color, that definitely has been quite the obstacle to kind of take on. It's an uphill battle, and it's something that we definitely need to focus on and continue to work through. And like I said, this issue transcends, Canada soccer. This is across the sport industry. This is across industries in general. You're seeing this issue everywhere where there's a struggle with representation of BIPOC people, Black people in particular. I know you're a Black man. I'm sure you have, had these experiences. And I would definitely say it's something that we have to continue to fight, continue to kick down doors, and continue to bring people along with us as we kick those doors down.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give to upcoming professional athletes?
Okay. I would definitely say, and I can only speak personally on my experience, learn your sport. One, you need to know your sport inside out. And I'm not just talking about, like who your favorite player is and things like that, and the technical side of the sport. You need to learn the business side of your sport also. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've heard horror stories about athletes being taken advantage of because they just simply did not know the different rules and regulations and knowing like the different side of your sport, and especially the business side and what's going on in the background. So take the extra time and learn and expose yourself to this information, because it'll just make you a smarter and better athlete, and it'll reflect in your performance.
And then, touching on that point, a lot of athletes really focus in on their skills and abilities on the field and not too much off the field.
Right.
And they usually or sometimes outsource to financial advisors, So you mentioned tapping into the space. Is there any resources or services that you would recommend here?
There are a plethora of resources, but a lot of times the athletes would have to go and do the research themselves. There's so much resources. You could just Google it and find different resources. I think where there's a bit of a gap is I wish that a lot of these NGOs would kind of have in-house services where the athlete can, in-house get, financial advisement, get, branding advisement, things like that. So I think we definitely need to start, NGOs definitely need to start looking for partners. Some of them have great partners. I know RBC has partnered with a couple NGOs and a couple big, sporting conglomerates, and it's definitely worked out in that way. But I definitely think we could be doing more in that area.
Understood. And would you say, are you speaking on, all sports levels, or are we talking about, every sport and at any level, or are we talking about a specific sport and specific level here in regards to?
With regards to financial education?
Yes.
Any sport at any level, because it doesn't discriminate. And I'll definitely say the younger you start learning about these things, the better. I tell my students all the time, I wish that I started this process, this journey of learning about, my finances when I was in my late teens. I think it's never too early to start that process. And you can start something with as simple as learning how to budget. I can't tell you the amount of people that I come across, and older people, and they don't know what's coming in and what's going out. So that's an easy place to start, and it's never too early to start. So
yeah, great points. What is the craziest pro athlete financial story you can share that athletes can learn from?
Okay. I'll share a story, very general. I, being involved in track and field, I have a lot of friends that are athletes. I have friends that have made it to the NFL, signed multi-million dollar contracts within the space of, I kid you not, 4 to 5 years, either filing for bankruptcy or they don't really have much left or much to show for it. And that's something that has been continuously happening. And that's part of the reason why I kind of got involved in what I wanted to do. I saw it as an area that bothered me personally because it was happening to my friends, it was happening to people who were, close to. And I feel like that shouldn't be happening. Situations like that, it should be used as a catapult to kind of, elevate you and your family. And that wasn't happening. It was kind of like this vicious, nasty cycle where they get infused with a bunch of money and then end up right back in that spot of want, and that shouldn't be happening.
Understood. And from that situation, what's 1 to 3 key things that you could share with us that athletes can learn from, that either about to tap into that space of a high level playing career and receiving a lot of money for their athlete, for them being an athlete?
Right. One, I said it before, budget, know what's coming in, know what's coming out. Make sure you have an accountant. Make sure you have a financial advisor. Difference between the two. And make sure you put protection in place. Okay? Especially if you have children. So life insurance, critical insurance, disability, things like that. Make sure that you are protected because you don't want to end up in a place. We know athlete careers can be very fleeting. You're having this amazing athletic career and then boom, you get injured. And that influx of cash does not stop. What are you going to do? So if you put these tools in place beforehand, you now have something to fall back on. So I'd say those are the most important things.
Got it.
Budget, get, professional help in that area, and then put protection in place.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
You're also an entrepreneur yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You started a company called CV Management Sports.
Yeah.
What year did it start and what inspired you to start it?
So I started this right before COVID. Didn't know, obviously nobody knew COVID was going to hit. So I started it about a year and some change ago, almost 2 years ago. I started it, COVID hit, and I was like, oh my God, no, I'm going to go bankrupt. What did I do? But it ended up working out. I'm happy I took the leap of faith. It was definitely ordained and something that God has kind of been in my ear about starting. That's why I started. And then also, I addressed this before with, during my athletic career, I noticed these issues going on, where there was a lack of trust between athletes and their sport agents. Don't get me wrong, there's some amazing sport agents out there, but in terms of like scaling and numbers, it was a lot of mistrust and contention between the majority of athletes and their sport managers / sport agents. And then also there was an issue with the management funds. People getting these amazing influx of capital, and then within the space of a few years, they have nothing to show for it. So I kind of saw that as a niche area that needed to be attacked. And it was something else personal to me too, because it was happening to people who I was around and people who I was close to. And I was like, okay, this is an area that I can definitely focus on. And then also, not just with athletes, I like to focus on, BIPOC families, minority families, and these underserved communities, because, I'm part of this underserved community, and I feel like it's an area that we can really get educated in and take strides forward. So that's why I started my company and focused on that area.
Nice. Charisse, I find this so interesting. People work so hard to get an influx of big amounts of money in. And what I found so interesting was the point that that's the point everyone focuses on. But once you get it, how do you keep it? How do you manage it? How do you control it? So like, that really like hit in when you mentioned that. So it's so
Absolutely.
interesting because I feel and I think that a lot of people are at that point of how do I get it?
Yeah.
And then after they get it, they're not really necessarily thinking about,
They're like, well, what do I do now?
yeah,
And they kind of try to figure it out along the way. And it's so easy to make, really big mistakes, make bad investments, put the influx of capital into a bad business deal. And just as fast as that money comes in, that money can go out. So you really need to get professional help in that area, someone who's very well versed and knowledgeable.
yeah. And for the viewers that come across this video, do you only work with people that get introduced to you? Because I know you're working with high profile people, but if
Mhm.
there's an athlete or person that
You
watches the
know,
video,
I don't I don't discriminate. So as I said before, I mainly worked with athletes from
okay,
all sports. It doesn't matter what sport, and then also with minority and BIPOC families. But as I said, I don't discriminate. Anybody who wants to learn, anybody who wants to be educated, and then put things in place to better their lives in that way, I'll work with them. You know,
yeah.
it's. Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't discriminate, and I want people to kind of grab onto this wealth of knowledge and step themselves up.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time for hopping uh, on the
Absolutely.
podcast. I'll have everything linked in the description down below, guys. So if you guys want to check it out, please do. And then leading towards the end here, we have two last questions.
Okay.
Um, what has been the biggest obstacle for you and your company?
Oh, jeez. Starting it. um, I would say just the journey. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. You're going to go through all different types of emotions. You're going to be hit with all different types of obstacles as you move through this space. Um, for me to pinpoint an exact obstacle that's been the hardest, I wouldn't say anything's been the hardest. I just think the process itself is tough, and you have to fall in love with the building process of your company. And definitely, okay, maybe I'll speak to this a bit. Raising capital as a Black woman in this space is not easy
Mm,
for a company. So I'd say that's been really tough, really, really, really tough. But you just have to continue to take steps forward and trust that God is going to open doors for you, and um, continue to just plod uphill. Continue to plod uphill, things will fall into place. It may feel like it's moving at snail's pace, but that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to rush to build this, amazing fast business, because a lot of times things that are, rushed and built super quickly can crash down just as fast. So be okay with the process and taking your time.
yeah, I love that. And the last one, I'm going to take you back a little bit here in time and memory. Um, what is your most memorable race that you've ran?
Oh, geez. Um, Most memorable. Most memorable. Okay, I'd have to take you all the way back to, I would have, geez, most memorable? It's hard to pick one. I've had so many.
It's, it's like the one that sticks
Probably
up.
qualifying for um, Osaka, that was amazing. World Games, and then definitely competing at the highest levels at each stage of my career. So in university, competing at the highest level, competing at nationals, that was amazing. And I was a jumper. So not a race, jumped. So definitely competing at nationals at highest level, that was amazing. Competing at, Pan Am Games, CAC Games, NACAC, World Games, I could list. I think competing at the highest level at every stage of my career, that's been the most memorable, just being with my teammates, building that camaraderie, getting on the podium several times. I can't pick one. It's just been a great journey that I'm very blessed to have.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of good memories. And I just want to respect your time. Do you have like 2 more minutes to close off?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So just 5 fun speed questions.
Okay.
So the first one, what is your favorite sport team or sport to watch? Sorry, favorite sport to watch.
Well, I'm biased. Track and field.
I
do like football too. For the football fans, I do like football team. I'd say club team or national team.
Both.
Okay. National team, I have to be a little biased, so I want Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, and Germany. I like watching Germany play. Club team, say I have a manic attachment to a club team would be lying, but I do like underdogs. So seeing Leicester's trajectory up has been fun. Newcastle a bit too, a bit underdogs, so I enjoy watching. So I'd say those 2.
Yeah, and
their path up has been fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna translate football to soccer for my Canadians.
Oh, sorry.
my Americans. Charisse will not call football soccer, so I'm just gonna translate.
I will not.
What is your favorite food?
Ooh. So I would say I can't pick one. I'm a foodie. I love food. So traditional Trini Sunday lunch. So macaroni pies, a stew, some sort of meat. So either stew chicken, stew fish. I don't eat meat anymore. So probably stew fish, lentils, pigeon peas, things like that. And then I also love like curry foods. So like the doubles and flurry and then curry, the curry aloe, curry chickpeas, tomato choka, pumpkin choka, things like that.
Yeah.
I love food.
Nice. Who's your favorite artist? Musically?
Jeez, it's so hard to pick because I love all different types of music. I would say I like Lizzo a lot. She's a fun, bubbly artist, bubbly personality, and she's a lot of fun to watch. And then also I've been getting into rap lately, so I like Megan Thee Stallion.
Vibes. And the last one, Messi or Ronaldo, who would you choose?
Messi. I'd choose him because I really, I guess, respect who he is off of the field. I'd say he's a little bit more humble, and moves in
more like low key.
Integrous. Yeah, more low key, more humble. So, and I think who you are off the track, off the field, off the pitch is just as important.
Absolutely, yeah. Charisse, before we go, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the One Soccer Nation podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.